Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to the Hearthstone Weekly Show, episode 63, and this week I'm going to be doing the topic which I wanted to do last week but didn't have time, the top 5 Nax cards. Now, I was thinking of doing top 5 worst Nax cards, but nah, that's just a weird list and might upset a few people, so let's just go for the best, shall we? So anyway, on to the list. Now, the first card we're going to talk about here, actually just a quick thing, I've placed class cards lower on the priority list than I have neutral cards, and the reason for this is because while they're very, very good, they can't be played in as many decks, so I don't see them as being as good overall. So just a warning, there are a couple class cards on here, and they're lower than I think they normally would be, but that's simply because they're not neutral, so you can't play them in a lot of different decks. Starting with Deathspite, the only and also best weapon in the set. Deathspite was essentially True Silver for Warrior, so it was going to make it on this list at some point, and it has pretty much revitalized Warrior Control. Honorable mention, by the way, was Sludge Belcher. I put it 6 or 7 along with Cultist, but Deathspite was a really, really good weapon in general. True Silver has a good stats anyway for attack, actually kills a lot of stuff like Dark Iron Dwarf for example, and Azure Drake and anything like that. It's actually a really, really good weapon. Now, the 1 damage spin is actually one of the only efficient ways of killing Loatheb that Warrior does in fact have, is with a second charge of a Deathspite, so that's actually very, very relevant. It means it can kill cards much, much better than it is, which is always a good thing. And, I mean, it's the True Silver of the set. Any True Silver variant that doesn't have a drawback is going to be good. Let's be honest here, 4 mana, 4/2 weapon is good on its own. With the little effect, it's just a little bit better, and that's all it really needs to be. Very, very good card. Now, on to number 4, which is Dark Cultist. Now, Dark Cultist has pretty much single-handedly, just like Deathspite, has revitalized its class, to the point where Priest is actually a pretty good class now. And the reason for this is because a 3 mana 3/4 with an upside is absurd. Arguably, it is one of the more overpowered cards in the set. I mean, it's only the 4th best in my opinion, but the fact that it's class-based lowers it a little bit. So, it's definitely one of the more broken cards in the entire set. And I would still say it's a bit of a mistake, because I would rather that the power level of Priest cards was increased a little bit overall, not just here, Cultist. Slam Cultist turn 3 and then you're in good shape. But alas, the card is very, very powerful. The effect is a lot more relevant than a lot of people thought it would be. 3 health is nothing to be sniffed at. And a 3/4 for 3 is just massive. It's a 3-drop that is better early game, mid game, and late game than Harvest Golem, which is actually incredibly impressive. Very, very powerful card. One of the best in the set, obviously, and arguably one of the best class cards in the entire game. So, on to number 3, the Haunted Creeper. Now, Haunted Creeper is one of those innocuous 2-drops no one really pays attention to, but it's actually everywhere. It's in Token Druid, Zoo, Hunter, Shaman, some Priests, so that's a bit rarer. But some Priests, pretty much every single tempo-based deck plays Double Creeper. Why? Because it's incredible. I mean, it's a 1/2 for 2 that becomes 2 1/1s. It's essentially a Harvest Golem stats, but for 1 less mana. It's absolutely crazy. And it's really, really good in Hunter because you can use it with Hunter's Mark, and also Kill Command because the best way of countering Haunted Creeper is actually ignoring it. So Kill Command will often just ruin your day. If you ignore it, you lose your 4-drop or 5-drop to a Kill Command because you couldn't be bothered to kill a spider, or more accurately, couldn't be bothered to deal with the 1/1s, which is entirely, I mean, it's not a bad play, it's just irritating that it punishes you in the way it does. I would say that Haunted Creeper the tokens are fairly easy to remove for Rogue in particular. Mage and Druid have an okay time with it, but they need to spend a bunch of mana on it. Rogue can just use their dagger to kill both over time, which is actually a pretty good answer to it, but it's still just a really, really good 2-drop, and it's definitely one of the things that pushed Hunter back over the top again, along with Haunted Creeper. I mean, not Haunted Creeper, Web Spinner. Web Spinner actually didn't make the list, however, It was a very, very good card. The reason it didn't make the list is simply because it didn't really leave that much of an impact. It was just sort of a one-drop beast that was actually decent because it cycles, and that's pretty much the only reason it's actually even good. So I think the Creeper deserved a bit more of a nod than Web Spinner did. On to number 2, Mad Scientist. Now, Mad Scientist has been decreasing on the hype train a little bit recently, but if you're in a secret deck, he is absolutely busted. It's really insane. Basically, he is a loot hoarder that draws a specific card in your deck and puts it into play for free, and is also a 2/2. There's something wrong in that calculation there. It's just crazy. I'm not sure whether it's a bit of a mistake from Blizzard's point of view to make this card. I'd say probably yes, not right now, but it means that they can't really make uber powerful secrets ever, because Mad Scientist just puts them into play for free. I mean, Duplicate is borderline unfair with Mad Scientist, and it would be if Duplicate was not so restricted on your opponent having to kill your own stuff. Paladin, use it because it draws cards, but the Paladin secrets in general aren't that good. Hunter is the one that's been abusing it the most because a free freezing trap is just nasty. So, and it is completely free, not just mana, but cards as well. So a free freezing is just completely nasty, and so is Duplicate and Mirror Entity and Counterspell and things like that. There's a lot of really broken secrets you can fetch with this thing. So it's the kind of thing where it's a tutor that plays it for free and gives you a 2-mana 2/2 that trades with most stuff on curve. So it's just a crazy card. It's a really powerful card. It's borderline broken, and it's really, really good. Now, a couple honorable mentions besides the one I've already mentioned was Sludge Belcher, very good card. Kel'Thuzad, Web Spinner, also very good. Reincarnates are a lot of play. Besides that, we've got a couple else. Undertaker. Undertaker almost made the list. He was very, very good, but he just wasn't as good as some of the other stuff here. So Undertaker is also another one. Nerubian Egg. Creeper is just better than Nerubian Egg, and they sort of fill a similar role. So I'd say Creeper is just better because it doesn't depend on other cards nearly as much. Whereas Egg is still a very, very good card. So there was a lot of good cards in the set. Baron Rivendare does some crazy things, and it was a good set overall, actually. But there is one card that is both incredibly overpowered and also just ridiculously versatile all at the same time, to the point when it has completely taken over the game, and every single deck list in the game starts with Loatheb. All of them. Now, when I originally went over this card when he was spoiled the weekend before the set came out, I was like, he's completely busted, he's going to be in every single deck. And people were like, oh, you're just overreacting. A month later, he's completely busted, he's in every single deck. It's not sort of me being, oh, I caught it. No, a lot of people caught it. It's ridiculous. It's a 5-mana 5/5 that can't be removed and stops your opponent's tempo on the, like, straight away. It's worst at turn 10, and it's still good. That's just crazy. I mean, 5-mana 5/5, I still think Loatheb is one of the strongest 5-drops we've ever seen. I think it's even stronger than Sylvanas was, because Sylvanas could just be silenced. There is no way around Loatheb's effect. It's a battle cry. There is absolutely no way around it. It doesn't actually matter what you do to it. You will have to deal with that effect, and it's a little crazy. I would actually say that they should have made it a 5/4. It really should be a 5/4. If they make it 6 mana to nerf it, and I'm not sure if they even will at this point, because the card is overpowered, but it doesn't really hurt the game. It just kind of is in every deck and cancels out. So it's so common, it doesn't actually hurt the game at all. So I'm not sure if they will nerf it. However, I would say that they should have made it a 4/5. If they make it 6 mana, I'm going to be very annoyed, because then we have more 6 mana legendaries, which we really don't need. So I would say they have to make it a 5/4 at some point. The card is really overpowered, and the only reason it doesn't sort of seem broken is because everyone has access to it, and you just play it in every deck. I have seen people asking, it's like, oh, why is Loatheb in the deck? I'm like, because it's a free 5-drop that protects your board. It's good on its own, it's good with other things, it hits really hard, Stranglethorn Tiger stats are really good. So it's just an amazing card. It is definitely the best card in Naxxramas. I would say the best creature in the game, borderline best card in the game at the moment. it's not on the border of, it's not best card ever. I would say it's probably in top 10 best card they've ever made, because a lot of the really old stuff kind of is just broken. So I would say it's probably in top 10 best cards they've ever made, and definitely top 3 or 4 cards in the game, period. I would probably say it's the best creature in the game. It's definitely the most versatile. And I mean, by default, if it's the best creature, it's the best neutral card. I think the only things that really contend with it are like preparation and preparation, innervate, Tyrion Fordring. Nowadays, like back when we did the Ancient Allure, Savannah Highmane, those kinds of guys. Basically the only cards in the game that contend with Loatheb right now are Innervate, Preparation, and the top like 3 from the top 10 class space minions we actually did a while ago. So I would say that's about it. I think Loatheb is flat one of the best cards in the game right now, and he should be in every deck. He's just too good not to be. Way too good. I think the only deck that can get away with not playing him is Zoo, but a lot of Zoo players play Loatheb anyway. So it's kind of a mix. It's like, do you want the 5-drop? If yes, you play Loatheb. If the only reason Zoo doesn't, the only reason a lot of Zoos don't play Loatheb is because they don't want 3 5-drops. Because you play Doomguard because it's very aggressive. You don't want 3 5-drops in all those situations. Although a lot of Zoo players actually do like 3 5-drops, and they just play Loatheb as their third 5-drop. Whereas pre-Nax Ramus, you mention a third 5-drop to Zoo players and they'd laugh at you because there just wasn't one that was powerful enough to even think about playing. But Loatheb really did break the cake. It's just ridiculous. It is flat the best 5-drop ever made, I'd say. And it is definitely one of the best neutrals I think they've ever made. I don't know how they're going to top Loatheb actually moving into the next set they're going to have, which will probably be out in like 3 months or something. That's a wild guess, 3 months from now. Yeah, I'll note that one down, see if I'm right. But anyway, I'm going to say wild guess 3 months. It's like a 100-card set, so there may be something as good as Loatheb. But Loatheb feels about as far as you can push a card before being degenerate. And the only reason it isn't degenerate is because the effect stops people from doing unfair things, as opposed to stopping people from doing fair things. Like, that's the only reason. If he was overpowered and he affected either minions or like drew cards off spells, like imagine if Gadget Sound was a 5/5. Like, or the way I think a good comparison for Loatheb is if Gadget Sound Auctioneer was a 4-mana 4/4. That is actually like a good comparison. He'd just be played in most decks. He's just 4 mana whenever you play a spell draw. But he isn't, fortunately, he is balanced. Loatheb is really borderline overpowered, but his effect is not degenerate. It actually helps the game out a lot. So that's the only reason he's not seen as broken, and that's, I mean, I'm okay with it. I would say if I made the card, I'd make it a 5/4, but it's definitely the least harmful overpowered card they could have had from Nax Ramus. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. As for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.